So I'm watching the Joe and Jada's podcast, and earlier this year they had Mike Epps on it. And somewhere along the discussion, towards like the end of the episode, I hear Fat Joe say, martial arts or karate is not going to work on the streets in a street fight. Jada, he say, yeah, he's seen somebody get knocked out. Mike Epps, he go into the joking about the Muslim brothers, they do martial arts, they good at it, they can do it with a suit on and everything be good. So I want to focus on today what Fat Joe said and what Jada said. Somebody get knocked, he witnessed somebody get knocked out. Fat Joe says it's not going to work on the street. Only thing martial arts does is teaches discipline, and I'm going to have to disagree with it. Reason being is because I've had conversations with people in the past who took the same stance. They said they seen black belts and people get beat up, get knocked out. Martial arts, I've heard, only teaches discipline, and it's not going to work on the streets. I've actually had conversations with individuals in the past about this. And it's just something that I want to touch on today, and why I disagree with it, and why I feel and believe, and I know that it will work on the streets, because this is a misunderstanding that's been going around for some time. Because a lot of people, when they look at martial arts, they think two things that I've noticed. For me, being a martial arts practitioner in two different systems, having a black belt in one system, this is what I notice about people who observe martial arts from the outside looking in. They see it as, oh, this is something that we put the children in when they're young and teach them some discipline, and they learn how to fight, they learn how to block and kick, and it's cute. Then they take them out. They don't finish the journey to get that black belt. But it's something that they do. They start them out, but it's not as exciting as playing a sport like football, baseball, or basketball. So they put them in a sport where it's a team sport where you can coach from the sideline. You see, parents, it's hard for them to coach from the sideline in martial arts, because if you don't know martial arts, if you don't know how to fight, what can you teach your child from the sideline? So that's one of the things. People look at it as it's a child thing. It's not for adults, because it's not going to work. You don't see adults having altercations or fights on the street all the time, even though they do happen. You don't see it as much as you see the children and teenagers get into altercations. We'll get back to that. The second thing that is a reason why people believe that it won't work is because, tagging along to with I just said, adults don't get into these situations on the street, but many people, adults and people that's not in it on the outside looking in, they're thinking of a karate movie. A person become a black belt. Many people who I have conversations with, they think like black belt is the end. Once you make your black belt, oh, you know how to fight. Oh, you know how to do this. What we see in the movies, and he ain't nothing to play with. He ain't no joke. They think like once you get your black belt, that's the end of the journey. You be able to teach anybody, you be able to go anywhere, and you just unstoppable. And then you'll see some black belts that may get beat, and then you say, well, it ain't gonna work. So why would I want to do it? I'd rather just stick to doing what I'm doing, being a street dude, and just knuckling up and rock 'em, sock 'em. So that's another thing. They, adults, they see it as if it's like a karate movie. It's make-believe, it's made up. Those things, oh, you can't do those things that they do in the movies because it's a movie, it's Hollywood. So those are the two things of what I witness when people say that it's not going to work. I've had conversations with people in the past in debates, and these people aren't in martial arts, but they say they box. Or they say they used to do martial arts, but they didn't complete it. So the fact that they didn't complete the journey to get to black belt, they believe like, oh, it's just not gonna work. I did it when I was a kid, but yeah, it's not gonna work. Boxing, no, yeah, we can box, we get in the ring. So this is what I say to those people. Anybody can get knocked out, whether you know how to fight or if you don't know how to fight. Anybody can be beat, anybody can be knocked out. That's number one. That's what you got to put in your head. Just because you know how to defend yourself, just because you at the gun range every day shooting a gun, you still can get shot in the head. He practiced, his aim is on point, but you still can get shot. It's the same thing with fighting. You can practice and learn the skill of martial arts every single day, train consistently for years, and still get knocked out, still lose a fight. It can happen. One mistake is all it takes. So if you was to see somebody get knocked out and they say they was a black belt, you can't just say like, oh, it ain't gonna work. It happens. It can happen to the best of us. So you can't say that it's not gonna work because you've seen somebody get knocked out. You can't say that it's not gonna work because you yourself may have beat somebody up who claimed to be who they were. So you can't say that it's not gonna work on the street. That's number one. Number two is karate, martial arts. The circles that I'm in, we're not going around looking for trouble. We're not going around looking for trouble. We are in the art of self-defense. So we're defending ourselves and our family from an attack. I don't want to put my hands on anybody, but if you attack me, if you're the aggressor, then I must retaliate. But when I retaliate, it's not going to be how you think. This is the mindset that some martial artists have and others don't. It all depends on also what school of thought, what system that you coming from. Some instructors, they're not as good as others. So you may see an instructor that's maybe not as good or proclaim to what he may proclaim to be, and you may see his product, his students, and may judge them as if, man, that stuff ain't gonna work. Because you may know a little something, you may know your skills or your capabilities, you don't even need to go through that system to learn anything. Because you may say like, man, can't none of these people see me. That's what you may be thinking. However, it's some schools of thought where the instructor and his product ain't nothing to play with. You come in there thinking that it's not going to work and you'll get taught a lesson. Is it for children only or adults? It's for whoever that wants to learn how to defend themselves. It's for whoever wants to learn, as many people say, the only thing it does is teaches discipline. Okay, it teaches discipline, but what else? You see martial artists throwing all these blocks, strikes, and kicks, and doing these katas and forms. You think they're just doing it for their health? You think they're just doing it just to get discipline? You don't have to do a punch or a kick to gain discipline. But it also builds up confidence. It builds up your confidence. It makes you stronger physically, mentally, and as well as spiritually. It's a lot to that. Boxing is a martial art. But the thing about boxing is when you're in that square circle, you just jab, cross, hook, uppercut, move, weave, duck, slip, footwork. You only using 2 limbs. But in karate, you're using 4 limbs. So if you're on the street and you see a boxer and somebody who do martial arts, the boxer may win, but he is at a disadvantage because the person who does martial arts, and if they good at it, they got good speed, they in shape, you got 4 limbs coming at you. And they got a whole arsenal of other things that they can use besides just their fists. So, yeah, that's why I disagree with that it won't work on the street. Because there's a lot of components that comes with it. and people who train consistently, they build themselves up to be something that is, versus somebody who's not building themselves up, somebody who's just sitting on the couch talking and watching movies and saying, man, that stuff ain't gonna work. Can't nobody do that in real life. You don't know that. You don't know that. Imagine somebody throwing a kick at your face just as fast, or if not faster, than somebody throwing a punch at your face. What's gonna cause more damage, the punch or the kick? Your legs are stronger than your arms. So it's like, that's something to think about. How could you say that that's not going to work? If it actually lands, you know, that's a world star moment. If somebody actually connects with a side kick to somebody's jaw versus somebody getting punched. When you see people fighting on the streets, the first thing you do, you see them knuckle up, then they grabbing. They wrestling, they end up on the ground. But just imagine somebody get kicked in their jaw when you think that it's going to be a squabble, you know, with the hands, and they just come and hit somebody in the jaw with a side kick or a roundhouse kick and knock them out cold. That's going to get more of a highlight versus somebody just squaring and duking it out. And honestly, I'm not trying to go trade shots with nobody. Trying to eliminate the threat immediately. Not trying to trade no shots with you, because it's a possibility that what people say is, oh, martial arts ain't gonna work. It's a possibility that could happen, where a black belt could be laid out, stretched out. So yeah, will it work? Yes, it will work on the streets. To say that it wouldn't is crazy. That's just saying like, oh, because he got a 22 and he shot him with a 22, that little gun, it ain't gonna kill him. It can kill him, or whatever. That little gun is a gun, just like the big gun. It depends on who's holding it, who's using it, and where you get hit at. So yeah, I disagree when people say it's just about martial arts or karate just teaches discipline. It teaches a whole it's a whole universal language that people who are in martial arts or any system of martial arts, what you get, the qualities that you get, and the systems that you get, the lessons that you get. You're constantly evolving and learning. You're not just stagnant, or you don't just stop at a point and be like, that's it. That's, like I said, going back to the black belt scenario, you just don't stop at being a black belt and that's it. No, it's growth and development to that as well. So it just don't stop. People that take it serious understand it, and they won't even speak on this subject like I'm speaking on it. They're just the type to just say, hey, you just gonna have to find out for yourself. You may think that it ain't gonna work because you may have encountered somebody who lost the fight, got beat up, got knocked out, or whatever. But that don't necessarily mean that it's not gonna work. Like I said, I'm not trying to trade shots with nobody. I'm trying to eliminate the threat immediately.